usually is.
Brown drives, layup off the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Scoring net, knocked away.
Welcome into another episode of First of the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Celtics preseason underway with a victory against the extremely hateable 76ers. We've got the OG Antipodean crew back on this one. Jackson Bauer and our New Zealand correspondent, Joe. Jackson, how's it going, man?
Mate, it's good to have I nearly said Middle Earth. That would be inaccurate. What would it be for 2/3 of us? The Southern Hemisphere crew is back together. And the vibes are great, man. I think we got a good season coming up. We got a good result today. And get to shoot the shit with my bros. So I'm happy.
Yeah,
Stoked.
Absolutely. I can't wait to shoot the shit with you guys. We were saying off air before, it's been too long since we've done a pod together. Joe, our New Zealand correspondent, how are you, man? How'd you find the game today?
Yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to firing off a few uninformed takes. So just had it ticking away on the secondary monitor at work, you know. So, so my opinions will be worth what you pay for them.
Great value.
Yeah, all right, well, let's get into it. We've got, obviously, preseason game 1 to get into. We've got the Payton Pritchard extension, 4 years, $30 million to get into. And, unfortunately, some tough injury news to get into. But, I mean, let's just start with around the room here, guys. Jackson, were you unusually excited, like, going into this one relative to preseasons past? Because, like, gauging the room Twitter-wise and with myself, it did feel like there were unusual levels of excitement going into this one based on the expectations, and we'll get into the expectations as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I missed the first 20 minutes because my CEO, who I hadn't seen in a month, decided to come up, shake my hand. So I've had to flip my phone so it's facing down and act like I'm working real hard. And he went away, and I turned up and we were losing by 7. So I was like, oh, this is a bad start. But no, I mean, I don't know. Look, dude, I don't try to get ahead of myself in the preseason, and I think we probably all would, agree on that. But I mean, I can't remember the last time we had like 2 brand new members of the starting 5 playing, and those 2 members of the starting 5 also happen to be all-stars. Like, are we going back to 08, like that squad for that level of sort of talent turnover, I guess what I can say. But all things considered, I was just hoping we didn't suck. I was hoping that there were no injuries. And poor Jay Scrub aside, no, there was none of that, and we got to beat the Sixers, who I thought were really busting their ass and like making a massive effort to win this game, and being ultra annoying, and it still didn't work out for them. So nothing's changed. Things are still as good as they were last year and the years preceding that, and that's that the Sixers can't beat the Celtics in any form. So yeah, nothing to complain about, and it was exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, thoughts?
Man, far out. Yeah, no, I thought. Well, it seemed like there's a bit more juice on it than a normal preseason game. I think we're pretty curious to see how this team goes. I think on the run sheet you've got a reference to how excited are we relative to a preseason game. I think I was a bit more interested than a normal one. But yeah, my it's probably relative to my take on this team. It's not. It's more toe in the water, stuff for me with this team. So
yeah.
So certainly interested to see what the temperature was like initially. Yeah. It's interesting to see because I guess maybe I'm excited to learn a new group of players because I don't know anything about the league except the team that I watch really regularly, right? So I don't really know anything much about Kristaps Porzingis' game, but in 6 months' time, I'll have some
A list of problems.
well dug in opinions.
Yeah,
pretty unshakable opinions.
That's maybe a good place to start. I think we can roll the highlights today of Porzingis' debut performance in green, and then we can expand upon that.
The character of the guys that they brought in to add to the character they have. Whoa, Porzingis with the ankle breaker move to the rim. Drop the defender, Daniel House on the way.
Really excellent marks. And then on the offensive side, for me, it's that.
Yeah.
It's him playing pick and roll with these wing players and guards for the Boston Celtics. The previous dunk he had was in a pick and roll with Jason Tatum, and that combo of them.
So I mean, the game in general, very rusty. Lots of front rimming on both ends, some errant passes. Jaylen Brown's pants were on backwards. Like, that's how he started the preseason.
Explains everything.
Yeah. Like, you're hoping that Jason Tatum comes out and shoots more efficiently. It's kind of like, I feel like as a fan base, the one thing that like everyone needs the most is just a more efficient Jason Tatum. We didn't get that. We saw issues with rebounding, pick and roll defense, which we'll get to. But Kristaps Porzingis, pretty fucking good. Let's be honest. Pretty good. 17 points, 5 of 7 shooting. Got to the line 8 times. First possession, it's a Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown pick and roll. Porzingis just like infinitely wide open on the wing. He started in the corner and he slid up as natural scorers do. They find the ball, and to have like those 3 guys in the action to begin with, and for it to equate to or end in a Kristaps Porzingis wide open 3. So much fun. And then, I feel like we saw a lot of Porzingis spiciness to come out of that. So, like, let's just do around the room here. We've got first impressions of Kristaps Porzingis. I've made my feelings clear.
I feel like anything to the contrary is like telling a kid Santa doesn't exist,
Yeah, I feel that way as well. But I am a 36-year-old man. I'm ready to hear it. Let's tell me why Santa doesn't exst.
Porzingis ring around the room. I just wanted to get that in real quick.
Oh yeah, good rhyming. I thought the thing I was most happy about with Porzingis is like, once again, really cue the Shaq meme, but I'm not really that familiar with his game in reality, right? Like, I was like, oh yeah, he is a vertical spacer. So that's good. That's an element that we really needed to replace from Rob. And I don't know if it's a 1-to-1, replacement, but it's pretty good. So that's what I'm happy about. I think him and drop, we'll see. It looks like that's what they're going to do for him, right? Like, they're just going to bang him and drop. I think I probably prefer that than him coming out to the, I certainly don't want him to be switching, right? So if Porzingis isn't switching, we're not a switch everything defense. That makes us look a bit different this year. So I don't think I hate that.
I mean, we were kind of 1-4 switchy anyway to some degree. So, and yet now this new guy can like just fucking score from anywhere. So I like that improvement. Not to push back too hard. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with his game, but like I didn't watch a lot of Wizards last year, nor did I watch a lot of his Mavericks tenure. But everyone that you would listen to online, apparently he was a moody, injury prone prima donna. So based on 25-30 minutes of preseason ball, that is definitely not the case. I like that we saw a little bit of everything from him. First bucket was a 3. A couple of highlight dunks, certainly highlight for a preseason. And I thought the inside defense as well too. I think he got a block, it was like him and Horford both blocked it together, but he just appeared to be like a nuisance. And a lot of the shots that he was contesting, weren't going in. So it was always going to suck to lose Rob Williams for the vibes, for the culture, for the nickname, everything like that. But losing his rebounding and losing his the rim protection, I thought is going to be, something that's going to suck that we're not going to be able to replace. But again, just on half an hour of preseason, I think he's more than capable of filling at least part of that quota that Rob bought. And yeah, the stretching the floor, shooting the threes, having like a mid-range game, the post moves, everything like that. I think it's a massive upgrade on Rob Williams. It breaks my heart because I loved him so much, but I think we've got the right dude now.
He's not going to bring rebounding though, and
fair.
That's
no one did.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Rob was our best rebounder, previously, and we might be the worst rebounding team in the NBA this year. I mean, we'll see. That makes me nervous, man. Rebounding's pretty critical in high leverage games and moments. But yeah, he looked sprightly. He didn't look like he was struggling from the. He looked healthy, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll assume that it was his bad shoes that gave him his plantar fasciitis, and he's changed him out now, and he's all better.
Yeah,
he's got a green jersey on now. He'll be healthy as no worries.
Yeah, classic new Celtic. Health bound always. He did talk about post game his struggles with pick and roll defense and a little bit about rebounding. We're going to run that clip in a second, actually, right now.
I'm very happy to be a Celtic, I'm not gonna lie.
And then on the defensive end, obviously you play in the drop a lot. You're great around the rim, shot blocking. You've got guards like Derek White, who led the league in blocks for guard last year, and then Jrue Holiday, too, who are great at trailing and contesting from behind. What's that dynamic sort of like with you dropping back in the post on the defensive end?
Yeah, that's something I have to get used to because sometimes I stay a little bit too long kind of helping those guys where they already can block either from behind or from the side, and I can get back to mine. So I can box out and fight for a rebound. So that's still something that I have to kind of get adjusted to because those guys are so elite on the defensive end. It just makes my job easier. And I think it's great to play with those kind of defenders on my team.
So it's probably fair to say that the drop coverage will improve. The rebounding might improve, but it's still ultimately going to be a vulnerability for this team, like long term. And like, can everything else they do at an elite level outweigh that?
Yeah, compensate.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. With Porzingis,
that's the path to victory.
Yeah, and I think like we've seen other teams do that, like high-powered offensive teams with defensive vulnerabilities, just overcome those vulnerabilities just by being so overpoweringly awesome offensively. And not to say that like we're going to get to that level because we don't have that, as you've said before, Joe, that world-bending player. But we do have now so many players just a tier below that you would hope that like they can, this is not an analytical term, but like form like Voltron and like become that as a team. Am I wrong?
I think you need it. Firstly, we need to lean into the like non-analytical, just real fan vibes takes, because that's who we are, man. Spoons can be the expert. Okay, so this is my take. The team feels a lot like, in terms of construction, feels a lot like the 18-19 Celtics. A lot like the 18-19 Celtics to me. Like sort of with, I guess, less depth. There's sort of that lack of a reality bending or world bending player makes him also feel a little bit like a Team USA in a World Cup year roster. And I think that still is probably good enough to win in heaps of years, but it might not be this year. There's definitely I would definitely probably prefer to be in Milwaukee's position overall, I think, from a roster perspective, but it's still a really good team. We'll enjoy another year of success because we just continue to be spoiled really by the team.
Well, yeah, I mean, another year of success, but surely like now it has to be championship or bust. Jackson, do you agree with Joe there? Would you say that Milwaukee are better poised to win the championship, or are you feeling better about the Celtics? And then, along the same lines, is it championship or bust, or are you just happy to observe another successful season?
When you said it's like the 18-19 roster construction, like that's probably a fair point, but it's probably the last time that we really went into a season being like, yeah, this is it. We're going to get there, because we were coming off the back of the 18 playoffs. Granted, Gordon Hayward was coming back. I don't think any of us could anticipate like how much of a shell of himself he would be, due to the injury. So thankfully we don't have anyone coming off that kind of, magnitude of injury this time round. But to answer your question about whether I like our team or I like the Bucks more, I like our team. And I mean, yeah, okay, Celtics podcast, Celtics fan here. There's going to be some bias in that. Can't do anything about it. I think maybe if it's a 2-man game, sure, but like, you know, go beyond that. Like, I'm not. Chris Middleton has been like a thorn in our side forever, but I'm not particularly, you know, scared of him. I'm sure that'll come back to haunt me. Given his injury history, Brook Lopez, how old is he now?
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
I will. Brook Lopez is what? He's 38. Okay, Al Horford's also 38. I don't know. Am I missing something here? There's nothing about the Bucks that make me fear them more than last year. Maybe we don't have Grant Williams to annoy Giannis a lot, but I mean, who knows? You got to see what Lillard and Giannis are going to be like together. It could be devastating, and they could be clear number one. But I just think defensively you can get at that team, and I think we're better equipped to deal with them than they would to be with us. But again, it's way too early in the piece to be making that kind of call. But I put on a squad, A or B. Who do you choose? I'm going to choose our squad.
Good on you, Jackson.
Yeah. Positive vibes, baby.
I'm somewhere in the middle. Like the thing about the Bucks that scares me more than last year is that they have obviously Damian Lillard, and if you look at the way that Tyrese Maxey attacked us in pick and roll and exploited our drop defense and our just overall pick and roll defense, if you imagine Damian Lillard as the ball handler in that same situation, that is very concerning. Not to mention Brook Lopez or Giannis as the roll man, that's very concerning as well. You know, but there are ways to counteract that. You can not guard that pick and roll action with Porzingis, for example. We do have a really good defensive top six. We've also got really good screen navigating and switchable guards. You know, like we do have ways to counteract that. And I think
so. We bench Porzingis, or we Xing him out of like any pick and roll action.
I think we're just Xing him out of some pick and roll action. And like he talked about it as well, but like there's ways that he can defend the pick and roll better. And if you look at the stats from last year of like bigs defending in drop, Porzingis was top 5 in like all of the metrics that evaluate a big's ability to defend well in drop. Like he is good. I think to some degree, like obviously he's going to get burnt in pick and roll, but schematically there are improvements to be made. He acknowledged it in post game. We all saw it during the game today, game 1 of preseason. Like he needs to be better positioned in drop up. There's improvements that the Celtics can make, both schematically and then individually with Porzingis as far as like where he's positioned defensively there. So, am I slightly worried?
He almost felt like he was staying too high, you know, and staying engaged with the ball handler too long. Was that your feel on it, Ben?
I've kind of felt the opposite, to be honest. I thought he was dropping too far and not coming up enough to the level of the ball.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I guess it's just one of those. It's a strategy that, you know, is it's a strategy that'll have X amount of. It'll be very measurable, right? How effective it is, because there's going to be an awful lot of positions where he has to do it. So we'll have an idea. He'll be like he should adopt the corner contest, man. Can you imagine him doing that?
I'd just be worried about every time he would land from jumping. Yeah, just save yourself. Jackson and Joe, obviously we'll get your opinion as well. Like, would you agree though that particularly offensively tonight you could see at least the blueprint as far as like Brad's giant basketball brain imagining all of the offensive possibilities and opening up lanes and shots for the Jays, you know, and Porzingis? Would you agree that you could at least kind of see that on display tonight?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And again, it's his first time running out with the team. He's like probably only met and shook everyone's hand for the first time 4 or 5 days ago. There is going to be growing pains. There's going to be a chemistry that needs to develop, whether that takes a month or 2 months or, you know, it's ready by next week. Who knows? But, I mean, no, the blueprint, I mean, is clear for me to see, like, from the outset. You know, I think he's going to get, you know, whether Tatum decides to drive to the rim, you know, he's going to be open up top. You know, I fail to, you know, articulate the any further than that. But no, like from what I can see here, like I think he's I can't see him being like not a good fit with this team, health permitting. I think that's at the end of the day, it's going to come down to whether how good his foot is, how good his knee is, or any other, you know, bullshit he might pick up along the way. So fingers crossed he doesn't.
Yeah, I wonder how he'll, you know, he's going to have to subsist on a lot less shots. And hopefully, you know, that doesn't the ball has energy, right? Hopefully he doesn't become a bit deficient of the sunlight that is touches of the ball.
Didn't it feel good, though, offensively today? It felt like there was a good distribution, a good shot diet. It felt like the priority for the Jays and Porzingis and Derek White, who I think did a really good job. He had kind of a rough game, but I felt like he didn't try and over-assert himself in this game. It felt like there was this unison in, like, let's just get good shots. Let's get good looks, no matter who takes them. Maybe I probably am, like, over-analyzing one preseason game, but to me, that's what it felt like.
I think I certainly feel a lot better about our offense when Derek's got the ball in his hands, just in general. I think he's going to be he remains our best decision maker. And he has this sort of thing as, he's extremely good at sort of bumping and then just rising up for a runner. And I like that shot. It puts pressure on, like it's a pressure release, right? That sort of saves him from over penetrating. So I guess offensively though, man, I'm not sure what it is we do like extremely well, right? Like what is it that we do extremely well that puts pressure on the defense? What's your take on that, guys? Like, what do you think what's our big tool in the toolbox? What's the thing we're just going to hammer teams with?
Volume threes.
Yeah, which didn't work
just
out
based
well
on the evidence
initially.
of last year.
Right. So to me, that's hey, that might be that's what we play to, but like I don't like that as a means for. I just don't like it in the playoffs, and I want to see a way of creating pressure on the defense that does not involve just like crossing our fingers that the threes go down. That this is not the 1 out of 3 nights that they don't, or in the playoffs the 1 out of 2.
I feel like, maybe we're in a good position here as a group on this podcast because I'm definitely like erring on the side of everything's great and we've got a nice distribution of opinions here. But I felt like I observed a
bell curve.
Yeah, I felt like I observed a nice variance in shot diet in tonight's game. In that, yes, initially they jacked way too many threes, but then we saw Porzingis hitting from the mid-range and getting to the cup. We saw Jaylen Brown like coming off Porzingis pin downs and getting really good looks and lanes out of that. Can he dribble? That's a different question, which unfortunately hasn't been answered in game 1 of the preseason. But I felt like between threes, maybe X out the first like 6 minutes of the game, between threes, mid-range, and attempts at the rim, which we were also really brutally unsuccessful at in this game. I felt like we had a really nice varied shot diet there. So as far as like what the special weapon is, what the curveball is, I think it's the variety of shots and variety of different players and variants and players that we're able to throw out there. We don't have that world-bending player, but we've got minimum 3, you might say 6 guys who like can go and get a bucket and can free each other up offensively based on what they do on the court and how they stretch defenses in different ways.
The question will be, do they though? Do they?
Unfortunately, it's that simple. I don't know, Jackson. What do you think?
No, for me, like, I mean, you can talk analytics and everything, blah blah blah. For me, it just comes down to like what kind of season Tatum has, really. Jaylen Brown can't dribble. Porzingis is always injured. Jrue Holiday's old. No, if Tatum takes a leap, and like people say, like I got to take a leap, or second year leap, third year leap, late 20s leap, blah blah blah. If Tatum can just go up another level and consolidate his top 5 MVP, All NBA level, and kind of get a little bit closer to being like the true alpha, the MVP of the league, then I think that's going to, be enough for us, with the contributions of everyone else, obviously.
Yeah, well, look, we'll get to Tatum. Let's run through the rest of the starters. And the next bloke that I wanted to get to was Al Horford, because, again, he looked like most spry, athletic, ready, in-game shape person out there. I thought he led the team in blocks with 2, which is not, a huge number, but he had 2 blocks at 30 1,000 years old or wherever he's at. He only played 20 minutes, and the rest of the starters played 25, which I think is maybe a hint about what the rotations might look like long term, that he might come off the bench and play less minutes than everybody else. But like, he just looked, I think, the most poised, the most ready of anyone else on the team. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, he's got a great game, and I expect this game to like kind of continue as it was, you know. We can expect less minutes. I guess I don't have a lot to add. I expected pretty much a slightly diminished version of what we had last year. 95% of it. Maybe it's 100%, but on 95% of the time, you know. So on the effectiveness axis, he's the same, and on the time axis, he's just a little bit pegged back.
That's far too reasonable. He's not Superman. He can't do it all for us this year.
I still want him out there, man, when it's crunch time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Some of those athletes just don't seem to like get old, or like they get old in ways that aren't necessarily mega visible. And like, I'm going to throw some names out here that is going to be a bit silly to make comparisons to, but you're looking at like likes of LeBron, the likes of Tom Brady, the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, yeah, granted, Al Horford is not comparable with like the level that those guys are in their respective sports, but like they just keep there's just never like a cliff that they fall off of. It's more like a really almost negligible decline, gradually, to the point where, it's 4 or 5 years later, it's like, oh yeah, he can't quite do the things that he used to. But like, I haven't thought like, oh man, Al Horford looks washed. Like game to game, sure, but like, everyone on this team had stinkers at various stages last year in the playoffs and the regular season. So no, I think he'll be thrilled with the addition of Porzingis, and probably Holiday as well too. I think he gets to take a step back, reinvent his game to some degree at least. And if we are monitoring his minutes and he stays off those back-to-backs, then I see no reason why he can't contribute come into the year.
Yeah, he looked great. I think as long as we cap his minutes at like 28 per game, a very arbitrary number, then I think he'll be okay. And look, if you're watching live, listening later, and wondering like why we're spending time running down the roster and analyzing every individual performance in one preseason game, it's because there's been no Celtics in like 100 days. That's
what else do you want?
We love it.
Guys.
We love that it's back. Jaylen Brown to continue.
I think they want rugby league chat. That's what they want.
Oh, well. I mean, feel free.
How are the All Blacks doing?
I have nothing to add as an Australian on the matter.
Still in it. They're still in it. They're not going home. I saw this great imitation of Eddie Jones, man.
Oh my God.
I almost want to try and imitate it so I can like bring it on as like a kayfabe kind of character for the Celtics podcast. No, I need some prep time, man. Let me think about it. I might come back to it though.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. In the meantime, Jaylen Brown, notable Boston Celtic, the good 7 of 10 from the floor, and he's always the more efficient of the Jays, right? If not, he's clearly not the most praised. He's not the higher in the All-NBA rankings, but he's always been the most efficient shooting Jay on the team. The bad, though, did not really look any way improved as a ball handler. Am I wrong?
No, but he just kind of is who he is at this point, isn't he? Like,
unfortunately, maybe, yes.
Yeah, I mean, at least like with the presence of Jrue Holiday, maybe the expectation of him, like, handling the ball as much might go down some. I don't feel for him because he's got $300 million coming his way. And I love him as a Celtic anyway, but no matter what he does from here on out, any minor indiscretion, any turnover, anything, you're just going to have a parade of morons going, $300 million doesn't even have left. Like, and I'm already sick of it. I know he's probably sick of it. Sorry for the loud mic then, by the way, too. I needed to push the lunacy.
Ben's just having absolute kittens.
Yes. You have no idea.
The audio fidelity represents the intelligence of the comment, but there's an element of truth to it, honestly. But like, I'm already just gearing myself up for this, like the avalanche of criticism he's going to get every time he just like the dribble goes that way. Or there was some shovel pass he did today. I think it was meant to go to Derek White, and it literally went over the board, over the backboard and out. And I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Wow.
Somewhere is just, yeah.
poor old Jalen, like, because I'm a hater, like I just am, and every time I see him, he's just doing something dumb, like it's not fair. Like he does heaps of good things during a game, but like every time I just glance, he's like doing. I think it was Porzingis. He was actually trying to. It was like a kind of a scoop pass. It was like in the first or second quarter. Is that what you're talking about, Jackson?
It was in the first quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was trying to hit Porzingis on a lob, I'm pretty sure. I remember seeing that, and just immediately before that, he'd gotten the ball taken from behind him on a fast break, Classic JB. I don't know, man, we just got he is what he is, and we got to be happy. We got to be happy with it. As long as I think the comment there was treat him like clay. He's just got to be aggressive all the time. If he's aggressive, I'll live with the results.
I felt like he was the best at getting into the seams that were made available of having Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis on the court at the same time in this particular game. I felt like, maybe he wasn't as aggressive as you'd like him to be, Joe, but I felt like he was the best at finding the cracks in the defense made available by our diverse offense. And maybe he didn't always execute perfectly, whether it was him getting or trying to get to the hoop or, converting on passes that were made available by a rolling Porzingis or whatever it may be. But I did feel like he was the best at getting into the grooves that were open.
Yeah. And in total fairness to him, I think he always actually has been. It's sort of a feature of him being a little bit better. We talk about. I think we've talked about him being a better balanced athlete than Tatum. Tatum sort of leans over a lot, and Tatum will get ball stripped on spin moves and stuff like that. Jalen, his strength. Even though he can't dribble with his left hand, he can finish with his left hand, and he's historically pretty good. He's historically pretty good at putting some pressure on the basket. He certainly, even though I'm a hater, he doesn't bring nothing to the table.
Yeah. And is it fair to say that hate is relative to just your love for the Celtics, and that zooming out, you love Jaylen Brown, but relative to other people on the Celtics, you're a hater, or am I misinterpreting?
No, I'm a hater. It's just that our incentives are aligned. Like if Jaylen Brown succeeds, I'm happy. Because
there's a common goal.
There's a common goal, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a hater. I'm just yeah.
Yeah.
This off-season's been tough. My two favourite players are gone. Two of my three favourite players are gone, and there's a certain player archetype that I quite like, and Jalen unfortunately does not fit in that archetype. So that's why I'm a hater. But
I think
I hope for his success.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think we're all unified on that, and everyone in the chat as well. And we will get your takes and expectations on the upcoming season, because we haven't had you guys on for the most part during the off season. We're going to rattle through a few more names here, otherwise we're going to be here all night. Jason Tatum, just very quickly, I mentioned it up the top. Would have been great if he came out firing more efficiently. He didn't. He still put up a pretty sexy stat line. He had his assists. He had his rebounds. I think and this is true for the entire team, generated good looks all night, just didn't convert on them. Jackson, is that fair to say about Tatum? Is it also fair to say that maybe he is kind of just like casually strolling through the preseason, knowing that he's got this long season ahead of him?
Yeah, he strikes me as the type who he recognizes how central he is to everything that goes on in this team. So he's not going to be burning himself out or pushing himself too hard in this. I thought there was a period at the start of the second quarter where he kind of was no, I'm getting to the hoop now. I'm going to get to the rim. And I think he had a couple of layups and a couple of and ones there. And, that appeared to be a conscious decision for me to insert myself into the game and get things going. But no, it's about the level of effort and the box score that I would have anticipated to see from him. Yeah, sure. I would have loved it if he got 30 and, on efficient shooting and pulled himself out, early in the game. But no, it just wasn't meant to be. But I got no complaints about Tatum's game at all.
Yeah, I'd broadly agree with the sentiments there. I just always want to see him putting pressure on the defense. Pressure. Don't let them get away with it. Even though he sometimes looks a little awkward with his, with his finishes and stuff like that. Keep doing it, man. Just keep going in there. Get 2 feet in the paint before you do anything.
Yeah, totally. There was one possession where they tried to post up Jason Tatum, and the pass was sort of wayward, and he ended up catching it out on the corner. And it looked like, based on what we know previously about Jason Tatum, that it was going to just dribble, step back, and put up a contested 3. But instead, he reposted himself. He dribbled, backed himself back down into post position. And I think drew a foul and got himself to the free throw line. And I counted that the tracking data isn't out yet, but 3 or 4 post-up possessions for Jason Tatum, all of which resulted in some sort of score, if not like an assist or a bucket, but getting to the free throw line. And Missoula talked about this on JJ Redick's podcast, that'd be more of a focal point offensively. Yes, it's one preseason game. We have to be careful not to glean too much from it, but there were a notably high amount of post-up attempts from Jason Tatum, which I think bodes really well. Particularly, he shot really inefficiently, but he definitely left his mark on the game in other ways. So I think ultimately a positive takeaway from Tatum's perspective, and come February or whenever it usually is, that shot will find its way into the bucket. Conscious of time here, guys, so I want to move on. We are going to get to Payton Pritchard, obviously. Derek White, he was the starting point guard in this one. Jrue Holiday, I think probably, and let me know if you disagree, going to be the starting point guard long term. Out of Derek White and Jrue Holiday, Jackson, who had, I guess, the more notable performance in this one?
To be fair, I didn't really notice them doing a great deal together. I think it must be said that bald Buffalo, massive improvement. I don't know if any of you guys had affinity for the headband and the balding sort of afro thing he had going on, but I 100% approve of the slick dome there. But I said Porzingis has probably only met everyone a week ago. Well, Jrue Holiday only met these guys 2 days ago, so I think he was just obviously came off the bench. I think he was not passive. He had a couple of great forced a couple of turnovers in the third quarter, which were awesome. But no, I think he was just mostly just going through the motions and whatnot. But I couldn't say that Derek White really did a great deal more to impress me. Wasn't watching too intently, but they didn't look awful. They didn't look bad or anything like that. So no, I expect more from them obviously going forward. But yeah, no complaints.
I prefer White, I think, as a point guard. We'll see what happens. I thought it was notable that Jrue came off the bench. Maybe that's a sign of things to come. Yeah, I mean they're certainly going to be complementary defensively. I hope White's the point guard.
Are you open to accepting Jrue Holiday as your Lord and Savior starting point guard?
I don't have a choice. Maybe I don't have a choice in it. Maybe I'm a Jrue Holiday Calvinist or whatever. That might be a bit too inside baseball for you.
Someone's
guys.
got to fill the pit of despair that Malcolm Brogdon left in you. Why not him?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be Jrue, right? And it's gonna be Derek White at the 2. That
just dismissing me.
No, it's not that I'm not dismissing your feelings, and I'm very pro
I acknowledge
Derek
your
White.
feelings.
Yeah, I'm very pro Derek White. It's just come on, look at what we gave up for Jrue Holiday. He's gonna be the starting point guard. It'd be weird to give up what we did and the draft capital as well for us to bring him off the bench. I think that's probably fair to say. Jrue Holiday, I want to give a pass, right? Because of the whirlwind week that he's had. Of all the players, I just think, whether it was great or terrible, it's just whatever. We can't expect too much from him in this game. Derek White, I thought he had a poor start. He missed quite a few bunnies, quite a few shots that we have come to expect him to make. But ultimately, he had some really good transition defensive moments. He had some really good team-centric moments where he helped other people do what they do best and score. And I think as the game went on, he seemed to become a little bit more comfortable. I thought at first he seemed a little bit wary of cutting other people's grass, given the strength of our top 6. I think he seemed a little bit concerned with trying to do too much. And as the game went on, it felt like he kind of found his groove a little bit. Am I wrong?
I'm just thinking about
no Gardner.
Well, no, I was just thinking about that classic scene there's so many classic scenes in the castle. You know, Derek White is a man of principle. He saw Jrue Holiday out there and he just backed right off. He didn't want to cut another man's lunch.
Very, very applicable. All right, that was a good question. Before we move on to Payton Pritchard, which we will do in a second, there's a great question from Mr. Tice here in the chat. Jackson, I'll ask you first. Was this the first time that you guys felt 100% comfortable in non-JT minutes? And again, like taking into account this is a preseason game, but non-JT minutes have been a consistent point of fuckery for the Celtics for years now. Was this the first time that you felt somewhat comfortable with JT on the bench?
I'll have to answer that properly once we actually get into the season. But I mean, if you just want to look at it on paper, then yeah, I mean, if the caliber of player that we have out there with the people that we've brought in can't handle the load or like suffer greatly from JT not being there, then you know, God help us, it's going to be a long season. So I mean, yes, I did feel comfortable while he wasn't out there, but I mean, let's see what it's like, against the Knicks on opening night or the Bucks whenever it is that we play them. So too early to say for me at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think it's like every single like 5-man unit that makes me nervous, but I think last year I really didn't like Brogdon and JB kind of combos. So at least we have something different to see. There's a lot of talent on the team, so we should be able to stay afloat for the 12 minutes he's not out there.
Yeah, I fully agree. We're well poised for non-JT minutes at this point, surely. All right, I suppose 40 minutes in, we should get to the star of the show, Payton Pritchard, who just signed a 4-year, $30 million contract extension prior to the game, ended up with 26 points and a game-winning effort down the stretch. He had a half-court, buzzer-beating 4-point play. Was this unexpected, Jackson, from Payton Pritchard at this stage? Were you expecting the contract extension? Were you expecting his ability to perform in this way early on in the preseason here?
Pleasantly surprised. I don't think quite does it, because we've seen Payton Pritchard do this before. Do you remember the game we had? It was when Schroeder was still on us against Portland, and I think he just got to cook the entire fourth quarter, and he had something like 30 odd points, and it was just insane. So this is nothing new from Payton Pritchard. Like, we've all watched him, we all know what he can do. Did I think he was going to be on this team after what transpired during the season last year? No, I thought he would be gone for sure. So the fact that he's still here is great. The fact that he produced on the day that he got paid is another great sign, and I think his patience is going to be rewarded with like meaningful minutes this season. So, it was great to see him, deliver, albeit again in a preseason game. But I mean, that's like the best version of Pritchard as far as like, a scoring spark plug is concerned. But I mean, we've seen it before, so it's just going to be a matter of, are we going to see it, more consistently and, timelier.
He always shows it. Like, when has he really failed, when given minutes? It's just he hasn't earned the minutes, right? And there'll be a reason why the coaching staff aren't like not putting him out there just to be a dick to him. They have reasons why they preferred other guys. But to my eyes, he's always played well when given the opportunity. I think he's a for real NBA player. I think our regular season depth issues are way overstated. We're thin up front, but we're not actually thin all the way around. And we're covered at guard and we're covered at wing. I sort of consider Jrue a wing. So, really happy for him. Really happy we got him extended. I think we should have extended Grant, but water under the bridge. I think the Celtics are going to be very happy. I think he's going to be a positive value. It's going to be a positive value extension for sure.
Yeah, it's like 7-point-something mil a year is what it works out to.
It seems like yesterday that Avery Bradley signed like the exact same extension, right? Which was like 4 for 36 or something like that.
Yeah, in a different economy. Like, that's way better value now for Payton Pritchard. I want to thank Payton Pritchard for giving me that feeling again The feeling, you know the feeling I'm talking about, the feeling of the Celtics winning
feeling.
in like a particularly spot. Yeah, the feeling of PP in your life. The feeling of just like the Celtics winning a game in like not an unusual fashion, but in like maybe a unpredictably enjoyable fashion. And for the game to go the way it did, and yeah, Porzingis had some good moments early, and JT had some good moments early, but to be a close game, the Celtics down 2 or 4 or whatever it was in the fourth quarter, and for Payton Pritchard to like lead this bench squad like back into the game and win with like his like hooper style of play, fresh off signing the extension, like that felt good. That was a lot of fun, and you know the Celtics had a really disappointing end to their season last year. And to have this today after so long of waiting, it just felt awesome. It just reminded me of like why I love basketball and the great feelings I get from it, I suppose. I don't know. Am I being melodramatic?
No, I mean, like, I think everyone should be happy for him and his family. I mean, I'm sure his girlfriend's really happy with his extension. And, yeah, I think there's a lot to be satisfied with, you know.
Any other notable performances to get
No one's going to bite. Come on.
I thought about it. Yeah, we love Payton Pritchard. He's great. Lamar Stevens came in late to play center. He came in to play the 5. The Celtics went on a 17-5 run. I think he's a name to watch as far as making the final roster. O'Shea Brissett had some great moments, including climbing the back of someone on the Sixers with that amazing over-the-back put-back dunk, which Joe Mazzulla hilariously challenged late in the game. Out of those
replays,
yeah, I was thankful for the opportunity to rewatch it immediately. Are there any other? I guess is a way of asking guys. Is there any other notable performances from this game that you enjoyed or didn't?
Hey, Ben, I'm really sorry, man. I got nothing for you.
I'm not going to
try to drag it out of you.
I'm not going to answer your question, but I want to know where the bloody hell was Walshy? I was rubbing my hands together like, all right, here he comes, another bald superstar to hit the court, and it didn't show up. So I guess he's probably going to play against who are we playing tomorrow? Is the Knicks? Yeah, I guess he's probably going to play against the Knicks tomorrow. But no, I thought
48 minutes of Walshy tomorrow in Madison Square Garden. That's going to be fun.
I feel like where's Walshy's good thumbnail for the pod.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Anything else on the preseason game 1 you guys want to get to before we move on? We've got like 2 more things to get to before we wrap up.
No, it's always good to beat the Sixers, and the Sixers with Nick Nurse is going to be a new level of just absolute annoyance. So to get one over them, albeit preseason, nice and early, it's good. It's good, man.
Yeah,
man.
agreed.
Team of whingers, they'll never succeed.
All right, let's wrap up quickly. We have to just acknowledge Jay Scrubb tore his ACL in practice yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, it's probably not going to affect the Celtics' depth outside of practice, where you obviously need twice the amount of players to scrimmage against. We do kind of lack depth at the 2 guard if you want to still look at the team positionally in that sense. But if you look at it more along like ball handlers, wings, and bigs, it's not particularly impactful. But Jay Scrubb, he was great in the Summer League. He did an interview with Adam Taylor fairly recently, and he came across as a really nice and interesting guy. So obviously just disappointing for that individual and for the team. It's tough. And when I block read the Woj tweet or whoever it was on Twitter earlier today and saw Jay torn ACL, I almost shat my pants. Not to say that I'm glad that anyone tore their ACL, but I'm thankful that it's not either of our more prominent Jays. All right, let's, for the sake of time, move on. Jackson, Joe. Joe, we'll start with you. And I ask you this because it's been so long since we've had either of you on, and so much has happened this offseason. What are your expectations for this season? And do you think this iteration of the Celtics roster is enough to win a championship?
Conference finalists. I think anything short of conference finals will be disappointing. I think we're playing with house money after that. I think I would expect. I think a team like Denver is better constructed still. I I would favour Milwaukee against us in the conference finals. So that's my expectations. I think if we're sort of off the pace and we're sort of like dragging away to 50 wins, I'd be disappointed as well. I think we should be a 55, like a comfortable 55 win team. If we're not doing that, that'd be disappointing. So there you go. I want 55 wins in conference finals. That's all I ask. I ask.
I don't think that's too much. I don't think that's too much at all. Expectations. I mean, I want to dream, man. I want to say championship or bust. I fully believe we can get to the finals. I'm never going to write off Miami ever again, but realistically, it's the Bucks who we've got to get past to get to stamp that ticket. And you asked me earlier, like, do I favor the Bucks? Do I favor the Celtics? I think Milwaukee probably improved themselves more than we improved, but I think we've improved ourselves in the areas that are going to be more beneficial to our success. I'll give you this real quick. The amount of times in the last 3 seasons, maybe more, where we've had like a lead, not just like a negligible lead that can vanish in the NBA, but like a good 12, 15 point lead, late in the third, early in the fourth, that just vanished away. It's like that's been constant with this team for years. And I'm not putting it all on Smart, but I just wonder if the roster shakeup, the experience that we've brought in, is it going to solve that letting go of the rope and shitting the bed trait that we've got accustomed to? If we can go 20 games of the regular season and we don't see a lead of like maybe 12, 15 points in the second quarter go more than one time, I'm going to start really getting excited, because I know doesn't guarantee that not happening in the playoffs or later on, but I just think that's a trait that I want to see, erased. And if I can get that, then, shoot for the stars, baby. Banner 18.
Jrue, the bedpan holiday.
The giant nappy.
The bedpan.
The bedpan.
The pull-ups. What do they call them? What's the grown-up ones called? What's the grown-up?
Are they not called pull-ups?
No, the ones for older people. There's a name for them.
He is old.
Oh, man. I'm going to look that up right now.
Well, while you're looking it up, like Jackson, I agree with you. Like, this roster, at least offensively, is designed to counter those issues that we saw last season, like the inability to like get a bucket in crunch time, let alone like consecutive buckets. If the need is to get consecutive stops in crunch time, I'm more concerned than last year. But we seldom found ourselves in that position. It was more about like needing to score and needing to close out games or series that we were unable to do. So you could see the blueprint today as far as like opening up opportunities for our best scorers and our best offensive players. And this is without Jrue Holiday asserting himself at all. So there's more to come there. So I really think like if the expectation isn't championship, then like what are we doing with like the moves that we've made, with the people that we have loved so much in, to a lesser degree, Grant Williams, but Marcus Smart, parted ways with those people. Like, why are we doing that if not to go all in for a championship? And if you think about, the constraints brought upon by the new CBA and being over the second apron, like, we're in this position for a reason. And so I don't know, like I won't say I'm offended by you saying like the ceiling or the height of expectations is conference finals, but like it has to be a fucking championship. If it's not a championship, then what are we doing? Like we're viewing this year with the expectation that the Celtics will win a championship.
But we're trying to win the championship. I mean, expectation. But how many times do we have to keep returning to this theme? Happiness, right? What is it? It's, reality minus expectations.
Yes.
If I don't want to see you crushed, Ben, like a Santaless Christmas morning.
I when I get crushed, and it happens every year because I go in with these unrealistic expectations, I deal with that when it comes to that point. I cross that bridge when I come to it. But like you have to admit, this is a uniquely, well-structured roster, health concerns aside, to gun for the championship.
Yeah, I honestly don't see it quite like that. Like, if it's Celtics or the field, I'm taking the field. But we're as good a chance as anybody, and I would be disappointed if we didn't make maybe a way to put it differently is, where's the disappointment threshold, right? So for me, getting knocked out in the second round would be disappointing.
Sure.
What if we only make the conference finals but we win the in-season tournament? Are we hanging a banger for that?
You're pushing my buttons.
Disappointed
Jackson.
shake
You're
of the head
pushing
from
my
Joe.
buttons.
What do we get for that? Do we get it's not a banner, but it's like an NFT? It's a
Svi Mihailuk gets
non-fungible
like an
banner?
extra $75,000, which I'll be stoked about. But no, I have no idea. Look, I think that'll be great if we're in the final and it's like the final quarter and it's a close game. I'll be all in on that. But otherwise, no, I agree. I don't really give a shit.
I think we get an in-home entertainment system, little surround sound setup if we win.
And a Daewoo Lanos. Everyone gets a Daewoo Lanos.
100,000 off the mortgage. They should season tournament. They should do like a the block or house rules comp in the middle of it.
Well, it's not too late. Not too late to restructure the incentives for the in-season tournament. All right. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back with another pod towards the end of the week. Join our playback room. Playback.tv/first to the floor. Subscribe to the podcast. Rate, review. Put us in good favor with the algorithm. Jackson, Joe, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.
I love the Celtics!